everybody. I'm Brittany Lewis, a breaking news reporter here at Forbes. Joining me once again is Kendall Scudder, the state chair for the Texas Democratic Party. Chairman, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Miss Lewis. I appreciate it.
You must have had a good weekend because the results of a Texas state Senate race have been described as a political earthquake. A Democrat flipped a state Senate seat in a district that not only President Trump won handily in 2024, but a district a Democrat hasn't represented in the state Senate in 4 decades. So to start off the conversation, what do you make of the news?
It wasn't just a great weekend for me, it's a great weekend for Texans. I think there are people all across the country right now who are just absolutely fed up with a government that's built for billionaires, by billionaires, serving billionaires, that are treating our tax dollars like their own personal feeding troughs. And we've had it. And I think that, mixed with the biggest government you've ever seen, one that can shoot moms point blank in the head, unload their clips into the back of medical professionals laying on the ground, arrest journalists, and kidnap your kids. All of that wrapped up with the fact that Lee, the Republican candidate, absolute disdain for community public schools, comments about how we should murder protesters. The Republicans have just jumped the shark. They have gone completely off the rails. And I think voters of all stripes are seeing that. We have to unite as working class people under the Democratic label to move this country forward. That's what patriots are doing. That's what I think they're going to do throughout this year. And we're going to have huge successes in November.
I want to talk about how exactly you think that this happened, because I want to talk about just how massive of a swing this was. In 2024, President Trump won this district handily by approximately 17 points. Just on Saturday, the Democrat won by 14 points. That's over a 30-point swing here. So in your view, how much did the candidates matter versus how much do you think this was a referendum perhaps on President Trump and Republicans?
It's going to be a mixture of both. Okay, I'm not going to lie to you. I'd love to tell you all of it's a referendum on Trump, but Lee, the Republican, is a horrible candidate. They're going to face off again in November, but she's just completely outside the mainstream of what most modern Americans think. Mixed with our candidate, Taylor Rehmet, who is uniquely fantastic. He self-nominated himself, a union leader, a veteran, who is Mr. Fort Worth, Mr. Tarrant County. I mean, doesn't get a lot more Tarrant County than Taylor Rehmet. And he campaigned in a real disciplined messaging with real message discipline along his campaign, focused on working class people and making sure that they have a government that works for them. And in doing that, had huge success. Mix that with all the things we discussed earlier and how unpopular Donald Trump is. I mean, Lee campaigned with billboards and signs everywhere that said she was Trump endorsed. How'd it go for her? Right now, I think, MAGA is the kiss of death because people know what it stands for now. People were sold a false bill of goods. They were lied to, and they were given a government, that is just run amok by billionaires, and it's working out in the Democrats' favor, but lots of pain in this government along the way to get there.
To your point about Taylor Rehmet, he's the Democratic candidate who ultimately won this race. He's an Air Force veteran. He's also a union leader. And this is how he described the race. This isn't red versus blue. This is right versus wrong. When you're looking at this, do you think that this is a strategy Democrats can apply both in Texas and nationwide?
Yeah, I mean, we're firm believers that that's the situation we have at hand right now. It's right versus wrong. I mean, literally the first thing that this president did whenever he came into office was pardon a whole bunch of people that beat the hell out of the police on January 6th. I mean, that's not left or right, that's right and wrong. And he aligned on the wrong side of it. The list goes on. I could go on and list them forever, from that all the way to passing a tax plan where the richest people now pay a lower tax rate than the poorest. People know that this is not right. This is not American values. I will go as far as to say that Donald Trump and his allies have run this country in a way that's completely un-American, and we're not going to take it anymore. And so Taylor's completely right. This is about just doing the right thing by the little guy and making sure he has a seat at the table, that his kids have high quality schools, that it doesn't matter what his zip code is. He should be able to see a doctor before he gets sick and when he gets sick. To make sure that every person has the opportunity to pursue the American dream politicians have lost the plot, and we're here to bring it back.
Republicans across the country seemed really worried about these results, especially because but just how much President Trump won in 2024 paired with this area. It's Tarrant County, Fort Worth, as well as some suburbs, just how red that area is. President Trump, though, he distanced himself. He did endorse Mom's Guns, but when asked about her loss, he said that he wasn't involved in that. That's a Texas local race. He also added, "I'm not on the ballot." Various Texas Republicans called this a wake-up call, not only for their party in Texas, but nationwide. And across the country, Republicans weighed in on this race as well. This is what Florida Governor Ron DeSantis said. "Special elections are quirky and not necessarily projectable, are a general election. That said, a swing of this magnitude is not something that can be dismissed. Republicans should be clear-eyed about the political environment heading into the midterms." Former White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer called this a big deal. I mean, the list can just go on. What do you make as a Democrat here of Republicans nationwide sounding the alarm on this race?
Let's make very clear what they're scared of right now. They're not scared of making sure they aren't able to deliver on their agenda necessarily. What they're scared of is that they have spent the last 10 years basically French kissing Donald Trump's ass. Okay. And now they don't have any way to separate themselves from a guy who was just listed 35,000 times in the Epstein file release, and it hasn't even breached close to having all of them out yet. There is no air separation between themselves and Donald Trump anymore because they have worked for him for a decade and not for you. Whenever we were trying to deliver relief for flood victims in Texas this summer, they were doing the work of Donald Trump to redraw political districts. I mean, every step of the way, when we, average people, have needed help, Republicans have said, let me call and check with Donald Trump to see if that's okay. So what they're scared of is accountability. What they're scared of is people waking up and realizing that they were never working for you. They were always working for themselves. They were always working for Donald Trump. And there's no way for them to try to obfuscate that moving forward because you can't get any closer than what they've had. That's what they're scared of, okay? They're not scared of anything other than their own accountability.
As someone who lives in Texas, talk to us a little bit about Tarrant County here. I mean, just what exactly does this win mean? Because I listed a bunch of different statistics. I mean, there hasn't been a Democrat in the state Senate here in decades. This is huge. It's been called a political earthquake. What exactly does that mean, A? And B, as a Democrat here, what do you think Democrats can apply here nationwide?
Yeah. For folks who aren't familiar, Tarrant County is the largest red county in the country. There is not a single Democrat elected countywide in Tarrant County. And this district is entirely within Tarrant County, but drawn Republican. So drawn to protect Republican interests within the county that we just described. And so that is why this is such a big deal. I think what it means is that Democrats need to stop pretending like previous elections or polls vote. They don't. We do. And it's time to start empowering people to take control of their government again because it's run amok against all of us and all of our best interests. And that's the message that I'm learning is that it doesn't matter that this was a Republican district. We called every voter in this district 4 to 5 times whether they were Democrats or Republicans. That was what our coordinated effort called Blue Texas that we do in partnership with the Texas Majority PAC did in this election. We made 20,000 door knocks. We made 1.5 million phone calls into the district. And we didn't care if you were a Democrat or a Republican. We were here to talk to you about the future of your community and what we could do to help move the ball forward. That's the lesson that Democrats need to learn. A bunch of consultants in your capital city aren't going to buy your way out of this problem. Get out into the field, shake people's hands, look them in the eye, tell them what you stand for, and ask for their vote.
To that point, and like I said, when I quoted Taylor Rehmet, he said this isn't red versus blue, this is right versus wrong. Do you think it would behoove Democrats to kind of move away from party identity and say, hey, even if you're a Republican, there's still room for you over here?
Look, I'm the chairman of the Texas Democratic Party, and I am a very firm Democrat. I would arguably be one of the most partisan people in Texas, right? But what I will also say is that every person is welcome at our table as long as you respect everybody at our table. We're moving forward to build a coalition of working class people to take the government back. If you remember the Democratic Party of the past, that used to be what defined it. I grew up in a farm family in East Texas where everyone were Democrats at the time, and they aren't anymore. And I think the Democrats became a party protecting institutions and stopped becoming the party of the little guy. And I'm here to bring that back to the party. I think a lot of our leaders are. We are a party that will take on whatever billionaire, whatever banker, whatever bootlicking bastard we have to make sure the little guy gets his seat at the table. You see, those that are watching, the poster on my wall, Ralph Yarborough. He was a legendary Texas senator who campaigned with the slogan that we're putting the jam on the bottom shelf so the little people can reach it. And that to me is who we are as a party. And if that means that Republicans don't see themselves reflected in the Republican Party anymore, they're welcome over here with us because we're doing the work of the little guy. And everyone who respects everyone at the table is welcome at it.
This was a special election. The seat is up again in November. And the Republican candidate here, Lee Wambsgans, she said she lost because Republicans didn't show up. And she said that she fully expects the results to be different come November. And some analysts, when talking about this race, they said that there was some different circumstances here that were at play, like there was low turnout because it was a special election. The weather was bad in Texas that day. Wambsgans was seen as too far right of a candidate over her involvement in a conservative school board push. I mean, A, do you think that the results are going to be different in November here for this race, especially because it'll be the midterms? And B, I mean, what do you make of what she was saying?
Yeah, I wonder what other excuses they have. Maybe Dan Patrick had to wash his hair that day. What a joke. So let's talk about special elections in Texas. They are traditionally skew Republican very heavily. Okay. And it is because turnout is traditionally pretty low. Usually in specials in Texas, you see 3, 4, 5% turnout. This one had over 15% turnout. So is that turnout low? Sure, we would love to have 100% turnout, but you don't have that. This is a very high turnout special election for a Texas landscape. And in traditional fashion, Republicans overperform and the Democrats did by 31 points. So if they want to make excuses, go for it. What I have said since I got elected chairman of this party last year is that the Democrats are not going to go around explaining to people why they're wrong and making up excuses anymore. We are looking in the mirror, acknowledging when we've made mistakes of the past, owning up to it, and trying to make it right. That's how I was raised to do things in East Texas. That's how we're operating as a party. Republicans don't have to do that. They can make excuses, they can whine, complain, and blame everyone except for themselves. All that means is that voters are going to see through what they're doing, and we're going to continue to have successes into November. The odds are stacked against us in November, just as they were stacked against us now. But I will put my money on the scrappy Texas Democrat with their backs against the wall in Vegas every single day.
To that point, and Texas, just like this county, solidly red. But do you think Texas is flippable in November? There's a big Senate race coming up.
Absolutely. And probable, that's not what I'm saying. Possible, that is what I'm saying. Um, it everything tells you it shouldn't happen, but if we look at every special election that has happened, Republicans have flipped 0 legislative seats in the entire country since Donald Trump's election. Democrats have flipped 24. We're overperforming across the board. Also, the trends you're seeing with Hispanic voters have completely reversed. Donald Trump is underwater in huge ways with Latino and Hispanic voters. That's a really big deal in Texas. If you look at this district precinct by precinct, the precincts where Taylor Rehmet performed way over what Kamala Harris did were his predominantly Hispanic and Latino precincts. Some of the largest of which, predominantly Hispanic precinct, he overperformed by 51 points. So I think what you're seeing is all of that mixed with the redistricting maps that they drew, assuming Hispanic voters were going to stay on their side. They're in for a world of hurt in November. I think you have more than just the districts that they drew up up in play this year. I think 23 is in play in Texas. I think 9 is in play in Texas. I think you could come out of this election with Republican redistricting completely walloping them. And it couldn't happen to a worse crew of people. Thrilled that they're going to have their comeuppance.
Well, we certainly have a lot to look out for between now and the midterms, and I hope you and I can have plenty more conversations. Until then, Chairman Scudder, thank you so much for joining me. Once again, you're welcome back anytime.
Well, I greatly appreciate being invited. Thanks for having me.